So really interesting set of circumstances just happened, and I think it's going to be really eventful for New Zealand politics. So let me explain. So just recently, maybe a couple of days ago, I would have made this video soon. I've been out of town, which is annoying because I wanted to jump on this. But Simon Bridges, a very prominent member of the National Party. He was the former leader. He was the finance spokesperson. Prominent Maori in the National Party, something they don't have many of. They've got Simon Bridges and Shane Reddy on the front bench, and that's it. They don't have Maori representation in their caucus. Which is their big, downside to show that they're actually representing the people of New Zealand. And so Simon Bridges, he has resigned, to take place almost immediately, pretty much. He can't see himself becoming leader again. That's what's happened. Alright, so he thinks in his head he can't be Prime Minister because Luxon, the new leader of the National Party, is so popular now. People are comparing him to John Key. People are saying he's going to beat Jacinda in the next election. That's to be seen. There are some polls that say that could happen, but it's to be seen in the coming elections. But the writing's on the wall. All right, Bridges can't see himself as being leader, so he's getting out of here. He's gone. He's out of politics. So that leaves his Tauranga seat open. Now, what does that mean? That means there's going to be a by-election in the coming months, and who used to be the MP for Tauranga? Winston fucking Peters. Winston Peters has been out of Parliament for the last couple of years, since the 2020 election. Kicked out in disgrace, and I think he's going to crawl back. I don't think he's going to win this by-election, but let me explain, okay? I think he's definitely going to run. So Tauranga, if you don't know, is a very conservative area. It's basically where everyone goes to retire. It's New Zealand's Florida. It's very old boomers there. It's all retirees, wealthy people. And so National has been their representatives for decades, all the time. It's always right-wing parties winning that area. Labour hasn't won it since 35. 1935, Labour last won it. Isn't that insane? National's been holding it every other time, except when National MP Winston Peters left the party, took the seat with him, won it in a landslide. He won 90% of the vote when he took that seat in the by-election. And he started the New Zealand First Party and held that seat for years. He used that seat to prop up his party when his party got below the 5% threshold. Similar to ACT and Epsom. So Tauranga has been very important to the New Zealand First Party. And he lost it in 2005 to National, to some guy called Bob Clarkson. And then in 2008, Simon Bridges won it. And he's very popular in Tauranga. People love him in Tauranga, especially since he became leader and all that. He's... when he was leader of the party. People loved him over in Tauranga. And, he's been winning with over 50% margins, even with multiple parties running, so he crushes it there. So, this is a national stronghold. Winston, hasn't run there in years, right? But New Zealand First has always had a presence there, and, hasn't really seen great results. The best they did was what, I was reading this earlier, 2014 they did kind of well, but not, well enough, they came, third place. New Zealand First has not been popular there, but... by-elections are huge, alright? By-elections, anything could fucking happen, alright? And what could happen is the return of Winston Peters. His party is out. He's exiled from Parliament. He's talking about coming back in the 2023 election. But, he's polling, 2%? He's not likely to get in, because you need the 5% to get into New Zealand Parliament. But, if you want an electorate, you can bring it in with the coat-tailing rule. Bring your party in under the 5% threshold with the coat-tailing rule. New Zealand First supporters in Tauranga could see this as an opportunity to bring them back in a very small amount. But, it is questionable, alright? So Winston has ruined his reputation. For decades he's been representing, retirees, people on the superannuation. He had that whole thing with the gold card, that was his policy. Big thing that he did, and that was his big thing. And he kind of betrayed his people in 2017 when he went with Jacinda Ardern and let her be the Prime Minister. So by doing that, he crashed his party. By 2020, he was out, His right-wing supporters had abandoned him. He's trying to, center himself, put himself in the middle of the political spectrum and say, I'm just a guy in the center with the good ideas, New Zealand populism type thing, just New Zealand first, all this shit. But let's be real. Populism is a right-wing's game in New Zealand. You see populism in the Green Party, maybe, but no, populism in New Zealand is a right-wing game. It always has been. That Winston Peters has always been a right-wing leader. he's pretending to be in the centre, but he's not. He's right-wing, alright? He used to be in the National Party, he has right-wing policies, and every time he's propped up a left-wing government in 2005 and in 2017, he got kicked out of Parliament straight after that because his voters are right-wing. His voters don't like Labour. So, like, why is he such a fucking idiot to prop up Labour? There's all sorts of things for why Winston Peters supported Labour in 2017. But from his perspective, it was the bad move. He shouldn't have done it. In hindsight, he definitely shouldn't have done it. Obviously, I'm thankful we did it, because I think Labour did way better than a fourth Jonky or Bill English, a fourth national term would have done. Imagine Bill English as a Prime Minister under the COVID pandemic. Fucking terrible. Couldn't even imagine what New Zealand would be like. It would be pretty shit, honestly. But, so, like, this could be really interesting. So, Winston hasn't announced yet. He said it was a very interesting idea when someone proposed it to him earlier this week. Very annoying I didn't get this video out sooner, because I thought this straight away. I'm a very smart boy. I watch New Zealand politics. I knew that this was going to happen. Alright? And, now I'm kind of bandwagoning off, what the Herald's talking about or whatever. But, so this is really interesting. So what's going to happen is he's going to run. I think he's going to run. He has to run. Because it's going to be his only chance to get in. He's not going to win. The only way I can see him winning is if Labour doesn't put forward any candidate, and neither do the Greens or anything else. Like, they would never endorse him, because they don't want him back. They love that he's not in Parliament. So, like, they wouldn't endorse him, but if they didn't run anyone, non-national voters could vote for him, maybe, go to the polls and go, what, Labour's not on here? Well, I'd better vote for Winston instead of, whoever the national representative is. But, like, National's running high in the polls. Like, maybe if this was, 2 years ago, maybe if this by-election was 2 years ago, Winston would have a chance. But it's not. National's high in the polls. They're going to win this easy. ACT is talking about putting in a candidate, which could be interesting. If they put a strong candidate from the ACT party in Tauranga, one of the other, strong right-wing, like, hotspots. Like, because they currently hold Epsom, which is a big right-wing electorate. And, there are a lot of, like, right-wing, big, strong right-wing electorates that Labour could never win, like, like Tauranga and Botany and Tauranga as well. So, like, those are places that ACT could potentially win if they wanted to get a second electorate for whatever reason. Like, just to show that they're a real party instead of just, the Epsom party. But, like, so, like, they could potentially put all their eggs in this, go hard, try to beat out National, split the right-wing vote and let Winston win. That would be interesting. But I think more likely if that happened, like, the Labour candidate would win, right? I think from National's perspective, they should just not engage. Not engage to Winston at all. Not debate him, not talk about him, nothing. Don't even talk about this by-election. Put someone up, and then don't even, like, barely campaign. Like let Winston fuck around. And just, like, I'm not a political expert in the sense of campaigning, right? So I wouldn't really know how campaigning, what benefits a campaign. But from my perspective, if you allow Winston to have this platform of debating with them and putting his policies next to, say, Nationals, I think it gives him too much of a leeway to come back. So the best case scenario in my head, National just needs to stay out. They run a candidate. Just get some, establishment fucking whoever. Even get a current MP. Get a current guy off the list. Just someone everyone knows. I don't know who's not an current, like, MP. Like, does Shane Reddy have a electorate? I don't know. Like, I don't know where people are from. But if there's a current list national MP from Tauranga or that Tauranga area, just run him. And then bring someone else off the list, alright? Don't even bother with a new guy with new skeletons in the closet, whatever, alright? Just run someone they already got. And then Winston's fucked. But, if Winston wins, this could be fucking huge, alright? Winston could win this, like he won. So, like, why people are talking about him winning, other than the fact that he used to win the Tauranga electorate, is he won the 2014 Northland by-election. So that was a really big event that happened in 2015, I should say, after the 2014 election. That was a huge event, but a very specific situation. So if you've seen my Winston Peters video, you'd know all about this, but let me give you a quick summary. So National had 60 seats in Parliament, and they were being supported by the Maori Party, the ACT Party, and the United Future Party. And they all had maybe 2014, so that's 4 seats between them. Maori had 2, United Future and United Future and ACT had 1 each, right? So all they needed to do with that was to get one of these 3 parties to support any legislation, and they get shit passed. Easy. the Maori Party barely voted with them, right? So it was just, if you could get something that ACT supported, which is something more right-wing, tax cuts, all that stuff, great, you got it. Something Unite Future supported, great. You get them to help you get the 61 seats and then get anything passed. John Key was going to push through so much shit. He was going to get rid of the RMA. He was going to do so much stuff. All right. He was so eager to fuck shit up. I think he had a majority on the night and then he lost a seat that night, which really fucked them up, right? But anyway, so he had 60 seats. But then the National Northland electorate MP, he got involved in a scandal. I think he was abusing women. I forget. I'll put it up on the screen. Don't just quote me on that. But so he quit in shame. Northland by-election. National was like, okay, we'll go clean up Northland. Very strong seat for them because all the a big thing in these areas that are strong, Māori areas. They actually vote right-wing a lot of the time because all the Maoris in that area are actually in the Maori role, not in the Northland role. So, like, Northland is actually a lot more white than you would think Northland would be, which Northland is a very strong Māori area. So National always wins Northland, except the last election, Labour won it, just because they're unusually high support in the COVID election and all that jazz. But then, so Winston Peters said that he would run in that election, even though he was already in Parliament. So he ran in that, and Labour and Greens both didn't run any candidates and endorsed him, because if anyone won that seat, it would be better than National getting that seat. So Winston getting one more seat wouldn't change any dynamic in Parliament, but it would stop National from being able to govern very effectively. And Winston did. Winston won. Winston won that by-election. National only had 59 seats. They had to deal with United Future and the ACT Party to pass any legislation, and it stalled their whole agenda. Like, they were fucked. They couldn't really get the type of things that wanted to get done. And, that was huge for what Winston did. He really curbed the national government at that time. And, great news for the left, right? But, and that kind of showed that early working with Winston Peters before the 2017 election, all that jazz. But, so people are drawing parallels between that by-election and this Tauranga by-election. They're not comparable. That was a very, very specific situation, but it was a situation where Winston won a by-election, and he's won by-elections before. He's won in Tauranga before. It's not out of the realm possibility. I just think he's too damaged. He's too damaged with his reputation with right-wing voters. Tauranga is super right-wing. They're not going to vote for him. He's a laughingstock. He's trying to get, support from, anti-vax people now. But National's already, kind of swooping in there now. National recently saying, let's get rid of COVID passes, let's get rid of QR code testing shit, all that stuff. So, they're already becoming the anti-lockdown party now. Which is, at the tail end of lockdowns and COVID responses in New Zealand. It's, someone has to start taking the mantle on that, right? They can't just let Winston run around with it. So I just don't think Winston has the support that he thinks he might have. There's no polls out for this yet, so we'll have to see. But, this is the only way Winston gets back. I think an interesting thing is if Winston comes close. So Winston doesn't win, but let's say he comes second. Say he comes within 10 points of the national candidate. That could be huge. That could springboard him into some level of platform. So this by-election is kind of bullshit from National's perspective. They never should have let Simon Bridges leave. It's kind of outrageous. Tell him to stay around for one more year. This could be their worst nightmare. I don't think it's going to, but why leave it up to chance? Winston is a slippery bastard. Winston he could come back. He's come back before. Why would they give it any opportunity for this? Just leave it to the next election. Let him lose again, because he would. He's not going to win. He's going to have to retire after the next election, and he's gone. But now, why would you do this, Simon Bridges? If this happens, if Winston claws his way back from this by-election, it is all National's fault. 100%. All Simon Bridges' fault. What the fuck? But no, it's not going to happen. I'm gonna put a clickbait title on this, but it's not going to happen. Winston is not coming back, but he could.